Welcome to the Gounie Podcast and the talks of the town. Interesting chats, interesting people on our very interesting Red Sea shores. On this episode, we'll be chatting to Daisy Eleanor, artist and founder of Daisy's Academy. We'll also be having a chat with none other than Sytze Boomsma, founder of Gouna Mountain Goats. So stick around, enjoy the talks, and don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe.
Gounie action.
There we are. Once again, welcome back to the Gounie Podcast. And we are, sat today with, I would say, the Minister of Culture locally in Gouna, with none other than Daisy. Hello, Daisy.
Hello, soft.
Welcome to the show. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. And thanks for having me.
Lovely in our bright lights.
I know. I didn't even choose this color, but I fit in well.
You do. You always fit in well, Daisy.
Thanks, darling.
Well, Daisy, let's kick it off with the one question that I'm asking everyone. Mm-hmm. What does it mean to you to be a Gounie? What does the concept of being a Gounie mean to you?
Wow. Well, I don't know. I've lived here now for 7 years, but I always feel like it takes a big thing to say you're a Gounie. So like everyone's always said I'm a Gounie, and I'm like, well, I don't know, am I a Gounie? I suppose I am a Gounie, which is great. And I think it feels like a big title to have, as in you're like really part of the community. I feel like that name to me, or that badge, that honor, is quite a big thing to say you're a Gounie. It's not just passing through, is it?
You could be. I mean, you could be passing through, but you've got that Gounie mentality.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, you feel like part of something. It's great. I mean, I've never met, someone who says they're a Gounie who's not cool.
Well, you got to be cool. You got to be cool to be a Gounie. It's part of the prerequisites.
Yeah, exactly. Tick the box.
How long have you been here in Gouna?
I just said 7 years, but I actually think it's 8 years now. About 8 years, maybe. Yeah. Wow.
You're married to another Gounie, an Egyptian here.
I am.
How is that? I mean, being an expat, being not of Egyptian bearing papers, although I think you might be now carrying Egyptian.
I am.
Yeah.
Proud.
How is it? Living in a different country than yours, in a different culture than yours. How has that been?
I mean, I think if you're going to do it anywhere, Gouna's really the place to do it for both of us. Ahmed's an extremely strong, proud Egyptian guy, loves Egypt very much, as do I. But I mean, I think this is really a place that we're both able to be completely ourselves and do the things that we love, which is not easy to do anywhere in the world, both to and still have the love of your country that you want to be in, but me able to be me and do my things. I mean, it's been great. Of course, there's challenging things, but that's life.
Would you say you miss home sometimes, or has this become home?
I always believe that home is where the people are. I think, of course, when I go back to the UK, there's certain things that I would just say you're home. But I mean, this is home as well, The place is bricks and mortar, I guess. So it depends whether the person that you're with or the people that you're around is home. I for sure miss some things at home, but the people, not there.
And once you're back home for a holiday, for a vacation, for Christmas, what is it about Gouna that you find yourself missing?
Everything. I've never lived, and Ahmed and I say this all the time, I've never lived anywhere in my life that when you're on holiday, you come back and you think, yeah, I'm back. And honestly, we say it. We drive to the gate every time. And I mean, we could, it's not like we've been away for work. We've been on a holiday, in another, you could be anywhere. And we still think, God, it's good to be home.
I feel you. I mean, for me, no matter what reason I'm leaving Gouna for, it could be to go off and interview Beyonce, Just as you're about to leave, you're at the gate, you're like, am I sure that's what I want to do? I'm not really feeling an interview with Beyonce these days. I want to stay here. The weather's amazing these days.
Yeah, and I really don't think I've ever felt that ever. I mean, I normally come off a holiday and you're like, oh man, I don't want to go back. I just don't, I need another week. And I'm like, oh, it's all right.
Yes, I'm back home. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Nice one. I want to talk a little bit about art. You're an artistic creature. You're an artistic human. We're going to talk about Daisy's Academy in a bit, but I want to start with your roots, where your artistic roots began, and, you know, how did the voice and the art of Daisy kick off?
I mean, I grew up in theatre, on stage. I was a child actress, if you like to say. I was, you know, from the moment I walked, I was dancing, I was singing and training. And yeah, I mean, my first jobs was on stage, my first performance. I trained in musical theatre. My brother also did acting. We're just not so my parents are not performers. But yeah, I just grew up in theatre. I loved it from the moment, you know, that I could walk. Apparently, obviously don't remember that. Singing, acting, dancing, the whole lot. Yeah, probably very irritating for the family, but I just followed it through. And I've never done anything else. I genuinely, I mean, I've poured coffee at maybe 17 for a bit, and that was terrible. Even then I sang the orders.
Barista!
Yeah, no, I used to be like, toasted tea cake! Number 99! No, so I just, that's, you know, I genuinely feel it's just something that is just within me that I love doing. And thankfully, I've always done it.
And how do you find El Gouna as like a source of inspiration, you know, as a place to get your arted, for the lack of a better term?
I mean, in different sense, I mean, from a musician perspective, it's great because it's also brilliant to be in a really calm place. I feel like whether you're writing or wanting to jam or record or play music, it's great. Like from this side as an artist, I think there's no better place to be than to be chilled. Of course, you want to get out and like be inspired, and then just to be here and chill and write something and sing is great. And then from the other side of putting on things for the art, you know, there's massive opportunity. There's lots of, you know, I never would have thought that so many people in one place, that are interested in art and that want to do art and are good at art. Yep. Actually genuinely good. So there's loads of opportunities for it, more than actually I thought of when I even came to do it. Sort of happened organically.
Well, what about your own musical career? It started out in the UK, but then it's growing into something really interesting here in Egypt. Tell us a little bit about that. Daisy and the Fuzz.
Well, I've got a very good bass player.
He's all right.
I mean, yeah, I actually came here not really knowing what I do. I mean, I obviously always sang, always performed. And this really grew extremely organically here. I met a couple of musicians, you know, a very good friend and a wonderful Huda from the clubhouse sort of whipped me up on stage when she heard that, you know, oh, you sing. And kind of one thing led to another, and, you know, we created a band. And, but I mean, it's great. There's some brilliant musicians here, and there's, you know, a really eclectic taste and like style of music. So it's just been really fun, you know, being able to come somewhere and, you know, not really knowing whether you can continue sort of your passion, but being able to do it, which is it's pretty great. I mean, you know, I didn't know here at all. I didn't know anyone, and managed to be able to play music or do something that you like. It's great. Yeah.
And you've clearly taken your passion to the next level with Daisy's Academy. Tell us a bit about the Academy, you know, the concept of how it came up. I mean, to me, it is like the hub of arts and drama and music right now for the community, be it for adults or, more importantly, for the little ones. So tell us a bit about the Academy, the idea, the concept, and how it's going.
Well, again, with like the same how it happened with singing, this was super organic. It sort of grew. I met, people who just wanted to learn singing, and then obviously other musicians learning, sort of really grew into something that it is now. I'm super passionate about performing arts, as you can probably tell. I genuinely think whether you're going to be a performer or not, it's super important. As a kid and even as an adult, I mean, it's been super inspirational, like seeing some adults who've never tried it before and just trying it, thinking, God, I love the stage.
I'm good at this.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it's great, right? But I mean, it just really grew naturally. And we have, thankfully, an incredible, team as well working. We've got some great teachers. Theatre. We're running theatre. We're running music and dance classes. So, it's great.
And theatre, I mean, your impact on the community culturally has already been felt. I mean, you guys have already thrown a bunch of great shows, mainly focused on the kids. You've done Annie, you've done The Lion King, which was an absolute joy to watch. And I think you've got another one coming up, haven't you?
Sure do.
What have you got coming up?
This time we're doing Roald Dahl's Matilda.
I love Roald Dahl.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it only felt right this year. I mean, The Lion King was great. I mean, they did incredible. I think I cried the whole time during the show, trying to, cue things, but really badly.
Send in the woman.
Yeah, super dramatic, as I am. But this was great. I mean, I'm super excited this year. I mean, we always plan to do, that's our aim each year, to do our main big musical. We're in rehearsal process at the moment. We're going to be showing that. The show dates are the 31st of May and the 1st of June. So
nice.
make sure you're
nice.
there.
I'll be there.
Yeah. No, super exciting. We have a brilliant cast. I mean, it's so exciting each year, when we started, and then just see people coming for the auditions. It's such a learning curve and a life lesson. I mean, there's unfortunately not everybody we can take. And, I had so many people audition, and the cast is really great. I'm super proud of the cast that we have. I'm super excited.
So am I. Speaking of which, I mean, the kids are talented enough as it is, and it's great that they now have a playground in which they can exercise and train their talents. But I'm curious about the parents. How are the Gounie parents? Are they the kind of like, oh no, my daughter should have taken the lead part? Or how is it navigating? Because that's probably a quagmire and a half. How is it navigating parents?
We discussed this before, just throw that in. No, I mean, look, I'm used to this. I grew up in theatre, so I know the drill. I know how it is. So, unfortunately, just terrible question, Safi.
Well, all the kids are stars, but there needs to be a lead star.
Yeah. But I mean, that's life.
Yeah.
That's life. And that is a big part of it, and, I've probably learned most of my lessons from the times that you walk in until you don't even get the chance to say anything. Like, nope, next. And, just pick yourself up and keep going. So I think that's a pretty big lesson in itself. And if you get it, then you really try, hard and go for it and take that moment.
Diplomatic answer of the day goes to Daisy.
So no, I'm not answering that. Okay, next.
Well, back to the kids then.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a responsibility to help develop and nurture their talents. How do you look at it as Daisy and as Daisy's Academy? How responsible do you feel like, oh, that child can have a great singing career, or that child can have a great acting career,
I mean, yeah, it's quite a big, responsibility, but I think they become super connected to you. I think when you're teaching music and theatre, I don't think you can learn from somebody you don't necessarily have a good bond with, and that's super important for me. And as it is with all of our teachers, not just myself, but to have a bond in order to produce something musically or in the art, you have to be guided in the right way to get that out of you, whether it's tough love or soft, So it's important for me to really, have like a love for them in the right way and guide them in the right way. 'Cause I know how it feels, you know, and how much it takes to want to get something out and just needing a little bit of guidance. And that's what we're there for, you know. I dream of one day seeing some of these kids really being able, or adults, not just kids, one day hearing, I got the part, you know, or I'm singing there. I'd be like, yes, you are. That's why we do it, you know, and that's 100% why we do it. So it's, you know, it's a big job to take, and I'm emotional, but it's totally worth it. If I got that call to say that you were doing this, or we got to go and see them somewhere else in a show, we're super proud.
Nice. How difficult is it, now that you mention the emotionality involved, how difficult is it to separate emotion from, I don't know, I'd say truth and pragmatism in the process of creating a show or training someone?
I think I'm still learning that.
Okay.
It's difficult. It's difficult as well because I think everyone in art's quite emotional, and so it is difficult. But you know, in the end, it's also it's about trying to teach the hard lessons as well. I like if you don't get in or you know. It's okay. It's not necessarily that you're not that great. It just happens.
Yep.
You know, loads of people. I mean, you know, grew up with loads of musicians who are really, really good. They probably will never make it. That's all right. You're like, that's just how it is.
I had a drama teacher that taught us what he called the great but method.
Okay. I'm interested.
And we're like, that's interesting. Carry on. He's like, well, the best way to give feedback is saying that was great, but
it gives you a bit of time to think as well. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then he called it, like, at the end of the day, a compliment sandwich. You know, you say that was great, but, and then you end your critique with, now that was great. Let's see some more of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's very British. We do say things like that. We don't really finish it off right.
Was a British teacher. That was great, but. Now,
no disrespect.
We discussed the kids, the adults.
Yeah.
Living in Gouna, one of the things that I crave every once in a while is a little bit of culture here and there. I mean, it's a small touristic seaside village, you know. We're not expecting a Guggenheim anytime soon, although hopefully we might get a Guggenheim or a National Gounie History of Museum of History. What is Daisy's Academy offering to adults that are seeking a bit of a cultural, you know, endeavor here in Gouna?
Well, all of our classes are for kids and adults. So, I mean, we teach music, all different instruments. We also teach theatre, and we have dance classes for adults. We've actually put on a couple of adult theatre shows. The last one was The Unfriend.
Yep.
Which is a fantastic script, British, but fantastic, if I do say. And they were brilliant. I had, I think it was a cast of 10 of them, could be wrong. All Gounies, never done it before, never stepped foot on a stage before, which in itself I think is brilliant. So, I mean, that sort of came, you know, off a whim, really. I mean, you know, for me to get kids up, it's a lot easier, but to get an adult up who's never done it before is a big, big step. And, you know, these guys really sort of came to a theatre lesson and, you know, just threw it out there, let's go on stage. And they were down for it. And we've had really good feedback from it. I mean, lots of other people would like to do it. I mean, you don't have to tell me twice, yes, I'll be on stage and I'm there.
Nice.
They were great, and I 100% will be doing this again. Yeah, it was brilliant to see them. Really good actors. Difficult to deal with, but good.
Well, you know, actors, you know, what are you going to do? Artists. But on that note, it must be an immense source of pride. I mean, you mentioned that none of them had been on stage before.
Yeah.
How does it feel for you, for Daisy, to be sat there and saying, wow, I'm kind of the reason or the vehicle that all of them are now performing on stage?
It's massive. It's I'm super proud of it. I'm really proud of it. But I'm proud of them. You know, like I feel like I don't. It's, you know, for me, I just feel like I'm just a little step for them, just to push them behind a little bit. But it's coming from them. You know, everyone's got it in them. Maybe you just need someone just to
give a little
bit of a nudge,
just a little nudge.
And I'm there. I'm down for that.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm super proud of it, and see anyone perform is great.
Staying with culture, what would you like to see culturally be available to us Gounies here in El Gouna? I mean, the town is growing. It's growing rapidly. So naturally, the cultural aspect is going to grow. Sure. What would you like to see?
Live concerts. Massive. You want about the arts?
Yeah.
Is that your question? Yeah. I mean, I love the city for that reason, to go and watch live shows, to go and watch live bands, music. I think, you know, just the weekend to be able to go and see a live band. I mean, of course, there's some great music nights here now, which is brilliant. But also, you know, just going to see an actual big performance. Yeah. I personally would love that. I mean, this for me is the first thing that I do if I had the chance.
It's getting there. It's definitely getting there.
For sure.
I mean, what a lot of people may not realize is the economies of it. Yeah. You know, if I want to fly in a great band from Cairo, not even from abroad, bands cost money. Yeah. Accommodation costs money.
100%.
And then you have some locals that be like, "What? Well, why do you want me to pay a ticket for that?" Yeah. Like, well, you gotta pay the ticket so I can be able to bring this band in for you to see it. So it's getting there. It's getting there. And again, it's a mathematical equation. I need to sell X amount of tickets for to break even on bringing this band. So I think the more and more people that move here and live here and demand arts and are willing to pay tickets to go and watch a quality show, then I think we're not that far from.
Yeah. Me neither, for sure.
Coldplay live at the El Gouna Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Totally.
Or Daisy at the Fuzz, you know. Yeah. Live from the middle of Bayoud. You know.
Nice. I'm up for that.
I would definitely be up for that.
I'm up for that. Well, live theatre, I mean, we're up for doing, you know, I want to have more live theatre on. I think this is great to watch for anyone.
Now, let's focus on the town just a wee little bit. Mm-hmm. Your El Gouna, your Gouna, what is Daisy's Gouna like?
My day-to-day? My Gouna, what do I say?
Your highlights, your highlights of El Gouna.
I mean, I love that you can be anywhere in a minute. I mean, I messaged you on my way here at 10:59 on my way, because in my mind, I was going to be 10 minutes late, and I arrived at 11.
Yeah.
I mean, this is great. I hate being late, but unfortunately, sometimes I am late. And this, you know, everything is super accessible. You know, of course, the weather, you know, has huge highlight. Being able to go out in flip-flops in the day and stay out in them at night is also pretty perfect. You know, just the chilled vibe, the people, the community. It's the sunsets at night.
Oh, yeah, those sunsets.
I've never seen sunsets like it. Glass of wine. Great.
Especially those wintry vanilla sky sunsets. Oh, absolutely.
October, November time. Yeah, no, super good. I mean, day to day, it's really chilled, you know, and that's perfect. If you want to go out and party, you can. If you want to be chilled and eat 10,000 mangoes, you can.
Yay, bring on the mango season. And on that note, Daisy.
Is that what your question was?
On that note, Daisy, thank you very much for joining us on
Thank you for having
Gounie.
me. It's a real pleasure.
Please continue doing all the amazing work that you're doing.
I will.
Our own Minister of Arts and Culture, appointed by me, immediately.
Exactly. Please
with immediate
state
effect,
that,
yes.
That's not a real thing.
It's a me thing.
Hope nobody's listening to this halfway through and just hears that bit.
And hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast again soon.
I would absolutely love to. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Daisy. We always end with an Gounie high five.
Yeah.
Boom. That was horrible. Let's do another one.
Okay.
No, come on. There we go. Yes.
Thank you for having me. Love you.
Thank you, Daisy.
you.
Gounie. Action.
Yes. All right. Welcome back to Gounie. And our guest this time around is none other than long-time Ghanaian Mr. Sytze Boomsma himself. Sytze, welcome to Gounie.
Thank you very much.
Now,
Happy
Sytze,
to be here.
we start off every chat by asking the exact same question. In your mind, what is it that makes a Gounie? What are the characteristics of what you would, classify as a Gounie?
Ooh. That's a good one, man. I think generally a Gounie is someone that's looking for an easygoing way of life. Someone that enjoys being outdoor. Moments of social interaction, but I think a lot of us also enjoy the solitude. At least I do, definitely. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Nice. I like that.
An easygoing, generally outdoorsy, semi-social.
Semi-social.
Yeah.
And speaking of being outdoorsy, I mean, you could easily be like, the poster guy for the outdoors in Gouna. I know your history has a lot of diving. It's got lots of, mountain climbing and lots of fun activities happening. What's your outdoors story? When did your outdoor bug begin in life? And how has Gouna or the Red Sea been for your outdoors bug?
Yeah, I think my story it came forth out of me being very uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do with life. I tried many things, back home in the Netherlands. Couldn't really find my path, and then I thought, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'll take a year out. I'll go backpacking. I'll try to find out what I want. By that time I had quit school and everything. I said, okay, I'm going to figure out what I want. I'm going to go back and, get into a normal life. And then within the first few months of my backpacking, I learned scuba diving. And then I thought, wow, this is awesome. And then my instructor said, if you make it until dive master, you can actually make a living. You can travel and dive. And I thought, oh, this is awesome. So I continued. I became a dive master. I became an instructor. And eventually that's what got me to Gouna. And
what year did you arrive in Gouna?
2005.
Okay.
Yeah, I started working in the diving center of the Movenpick. Back in the day, it was the dive tribe. It was a really nice family feeling kind of center. And that I think is also what made me stay here, because I'd worked in Hurghada before, which was nice, but a very different community feeling. Gouna, what attracted me then is everybody was together. In Hurghada, things were kind of separated. You had the Egyptian side, and then you had the foreigners all clinging together.
And then on the expat side, you had different cliques as well.
Yeah, it was all. And then here in Gouna, even when I worked already in the Movenpick, I still lived in Hurghada in the beginning. And then, you had in the clubhouse the volleyball tournament. So I started hanging out more and more here. And I remember those volleyball tournaments. You had the people that worked on the yachts. You had the people that owned the yachts. You had, back in the day, Maggot Mayer and the Moods team. You had the Turkish captains. You had the staff from the Sandbar and all these different places, people that owned villas here, people that were working all together in these volleyball tournaments. And I thought, this is awesome, and then on top of that, I fell in love with the woman running the place. So not long after that, I moved to Gouna and stayed. I got soaked up in the community back then.
And, that's a very interesting word. And it's a word that we really like to use often here in Gouna, the word community. You've lived in many different places, I think, all over the world. What marks out the community? What makes this community special to you?
For me, especially in the beginning, there was a kind of pride almost of living in El Gouna. It was a growing town, and I think it was the unity. I think people that were living here, people that were just visiting, people that were working for, Orascom, everyone was like sharing one almost like goal in life to make life better and have fun as well. That was a big thing, of course.
Circling back to the diving and the diving community, how important would you say diving and sea activities are for the economy of the town and for the Egyptian tourism industry in general?
I think, first for Gouna, I think this is what gave birth to the town. It was, the Sawiris and his friends that were avid fishermen that, were looking for a place to, park their boats and have a holiday house. And I think a logical step from that to also attract tourism was the diving. And at the beginning, the 90s and the early 2000s, diving is what kitesurfing, or diving was what kitesurfing is now.
Today, absolutely.
And it attracted a lot of international tourism. And a lot of the expats that started living here were divers that visited, the whole English community, and from the Belgian and French community, the Germans. A lot of them came on holiday for scuba diving and then thought, oh, this is really nice. Found out you can actually own a place, and then started moving here even for seasons. And I think now, from the fishing to the diving, I think kitesurfing now is what attracts a lot of people to come to Gouna. And I think what's nice as well is that it shifted from a focus on foreign tourism to also to local tourism. And again, that brings the mix back into the place. That's,
And what would you say, what is Sytze's sales pitch for someone who's considering maybe diving or giving it a shot? There must be a sales pitch somewhere.
I always like to think, and it's actually one of the AA slogans, attraction rather than promotion. I'm not much of a salesperson, but I do really love these activities. I really love, seeing the reefs, the healthy reefs. I love, interacting with the dolphins out here in Gouna, and the same I have for the desert as well. I'm interested in seeing what's out there. I'm interested into learning how it all functions and how it works. And I think curiosity, if there would probably be a word to throw into a sales pitch, I would be curious, be curious and see what's out there.
Yeah, that's the word, curiosity. And how would you say Red Sea living feeds your curiosity? Has it been good for your curiosity?
Yeah. And of course, I go through phases. I don't know how real I should get here, but
as real as you want. Yeah.
Now, of course, there are phases, and I think maybe I should look for something else or something different. Been here now for pretty much 19 years, I think. But whenever I get into those phases, I have to get come back to that as well. Whenever I go out, I always start realizing how much we have here. And it is in a way the access that we have here to nature. Like I can get on I can literally swim out and snorkel on a reef from where I live. And there are very few places in the world, I think, where someone like me could have that. You know, it's and of course, like, you know, there is some limitation in you know the movement here and there, but I think we have it all at our fingertips here. And I'm thinking, like, if I would go back to the Netherlands, for me to create a lifestyle where I could be outdoor and live off it, would be virtually impossible. And here it is possible. It's
and just access to different kinds of nature, you know, the desert, the sea, the sun.
It's that, but it's even like, and of course, like when I think nature, it's there sea and desert, but even I like to walk on the Gulf around sunset time. Even the animals you can spot there, the birds, the foxes, even that you have there. Like now that the town is getting older, I think also the diversity in plant and animal life is growing, which is really interesting to see as well.
And it is changing. I mean, and the longer you live, the more you notice patterns. Like, you know, now I know when to watch out for the storks and the migrating birds up. And
the full moon, man. Like when you see that big giant orange thing rise out of the sea, once you get to know like when that happens, you can actually start planning.
I wanna kind of move from the sea to the desert now, because, you know, early 2000s, I remember coming here and a lot of us sort of, you know, on our own choosing to get out of the Gouna gates and take a hike up those mountains and come back down. But then all of a sudden, Gouna Mountain Goats sort of emerged. Where did the idea come from of sort of, you know, streamlining the concept of, hey, let's organize a way where the locals, the visitors alike can experience the desert, and what is Gouna Mountain Goats all about?
Yeah, well, it was actually born out of a necessity. First, because I was always at sea, I every now and then needed the change, just a different vibe, different energy. And I started going into the mountains alone. And then I got stopped more and more, you know. And by this time already friends started coming along. And, you know, when you post a picture on Facebook, people say, hey, where is it? It's just here, like I'm going again, say, next weekend, come along. But then the security stopped us and said, yeah, Mam Nua this and Mam Nua that. And I was really, can I say pissed off?
Yeah.
But I felt very limited in my freedom to move. I thought, wow, this is just the other side of the road and I can't just freely go. But then a friend of mine, he knew one of the Bedouin there, and he said, like, these guys, you know, they live there, they have the access, they even have these 4x4 cars, they can take you across. So you should maybe sit with one of them and then, you know, see what the options are. And then he got us in contact. We had a coffee. I explained a little bit the idea of, you know, exploring, hiking, and because there was nothing like that at the time. You had the quad tours and the jeep safaris, but they were focused mainly on tourism, like on, you know, you sit, smoke a shisha and that. Yep. And then, but nobody really the more active side of outdoorsy activities. And then first it was just, you know, Hamada with his car, me, whatever we could fit in the car. People would sometimes even follow with their own cars. We'd just go across and go up. And then we'd basically gather pretty much what it would cost to pay for Hamada's car, you know, that kind of stuff. And then at some point, I think it was Hisham Nabil. He said, yeah, if you provide some water for the people, you can pay this. Or you can ask this. It's not a bad idea. And then it was Armin. Armin, he said, you know, if you make some sandwiches or food, you know, you can ask this. And like that, it actually became more of a thing. But still with the vibe of just going out with friends, you know, that. And then at some point it was again the Gouna security. They saw us going in and out now more often. With people, and they say, yeah, guys, you should actually have some paperwork for this. So then the Hamada and the guys, they went to the registration office. They officially registered the company. When they asked what's the name of the company, we didn't really have a name yet, but we had a WhatsApp group. And the WhatsApp group was called the Gouna Mountain Goats because of the climbing in the mountains. So he just said it's the Gouna Mountain Goats, and that name stuck.
Stuck, and it works. It works perfectly fine.
But the initial idea was to provide a way for us residents to go across and explore nature, basically.
And how is the Dutch Bedouin connection? Working with the Bedouins of the Red Sea, and it's a beautiful culture.
It is. And this is also I'm very grateful for that I'm getting to learn and I wouldn't even say understand it, because I still don't. There's so many levels to it. But in all the years that I was here in El Gouna, I had no idea about that there actually was a real life desert culture in this area. And now, I'm learning, I'm seeing the different tribes, the different people, the different clans, the different families, the different areas that everybody looks after. Super interesting. It's,
And there's so much that this Eastern Desert has to offer with regards to trails, mountains to climb. I mean, on this side, I think Shaib is the highest. Shaib is the highest mountain.
Gebel Shaib el Banat is 2,187 meters high, which is like pretty high, especially if you see that the surrounding land is quite low compared to like the Sinai Mountains, where you're actually in mountains before you start going to summits. Here it's pretty much, it's not really flat, but from the sea it rises very gradually. And then once you reach the mountains, you get these granite monsters going up to like 2,000 and more, which is really cool. And then there is the Roman history in there. The portal, the pillars and the portal of the Pantheon in Rome are out of these mountains. Just it's insane to think that. And right here next to Gouna, we have Mons Porphyritis, which is super interesting with a lot of villages around it. Rock drawings, there are drawings of giraffes and boats dating back to the time where there were actually still rivers flowing in there in the African humid period. Early Christian monks that had, say, monastery kind of living in there. So
And just the rock formations are... I mean, last time I was there, it was like if you just squint your eyes, no, this is the bottom of the sea. Lots of crustaceans, and it's really incredible to go up there.
I'll call that our own Gouna Hill here, the flat one, is a prehistoric coral reef. Yep. So that one is full of fossils, which is also very It's another
How do people react? Like, especially, I want to compare between how Egyptians react when they realize, oh my God, this is just right here, and how, expats or tourists who are coming with the vision of the desert, maybe a Lawrence of Arabia type scenario in their mind. What would you say the difference is?
It's I think for me as well, it's part of the excitement of showing something that people have no idea about. Of course, we all grow up with the idea that the desert is sand. Turns out it's only between 20 and 30% of the Sahara that is actually sand dunes. But this area as well, we have many long-term residents, people that live here for 20, 22 years that never been there and have no idea what it looks like. Yesterday I was sitting with somebody that came for the first time last week with us, that's been living here since forever, that mentioned the awe, basically, like, wow, I have no idea how pretty it is once you get in between the mountains. Because when you look at it from this side, it looks like almost like a wall, like a border. It doesn't really look inviting. But when you go in and you start seeing, the life and the plants and the animals, and then especially when you get to the back, the open area, the feeling of space, it's amazing. Yeah.
Up north, you've got Meliha, and if a nice little natural spring, and in the right time of the year, you can catch migrating birds there.
Which is this time of the year, it's happening again. Yeah, and also like for the Egyptians as well, like not a lot of people know what's happening there. I think it's almost It's like a big step, it seems, for people to go into the desert. Like everyone's very comfortable with the beach, the sea, the boats and all of that. But the desert is always like, it's a bit of almost like a forbidden area, which I think makes it exciting as well.
I love me a desert any day of the week. Now, I wanna move on from the seas and the deserts to two beautiful humans. I want to talk about your kids. I want to talk about Sumaya and Ismail. I mean, I have zero reference, but I can't imagine what it would be like as an expat dad raising kids here in Egypt, and especially in the Red Sea. How, I mean, they're young adults by now, but how has the process been? Especially because I think you guys took a decision to do homeschooling for the longest time with them.
Yeah. I often and I ask them sometimes as well if they realize how privileged they are growing up here. Because when they were small, like we could go out and they were swimming with dolphins on like an afternoon after school. They've been climbing the mountains here in the desert, and they can walk barefoot. They've almost no worry. And of course, now that they reach puberty, things start to get confusing, of course, also in their life. But I think that's part of the human experience. But I'm very grateful to see my kids grow up in this environment. Like, we had a pond behind the house, and we would swim in there, and we would even build rafts and stuff like that. And then one day something went wrong with the sewage of the village, and everything that was living in the pond started floating up. So you saw these big rats and all of that stuff. And since then, nobody went swimming in the pond anymore. But for me, for my kids, the pond is the Red Sea.
It's the Red Sea?
Which is amazing. And I think as well, just the freedom that they have of, walking around here. They can, go see their friends. I don't have to worry about, them getting up to something. There's always, and here again, I think it's that community thing. There's the neighbors. There's even the security. It's a bit of a Tom and Jerry kind of thing. Sometimes, of course, they are kids, but they're also very helpful. They lose stuff, and then the security comes and your kid forgot the bag over there, and it's an interesting place to think. I sometimes wouldn't say worry, but think about that. That they might not get enough influence of, say, the raw side of life. The
realer. What is conceived as the real city life kind of world.
Yeah, and that's I think a podcast on its own. What, of course, the real life is, but I think their mom,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
But their mom takes them traveling a lot, so they are very aware, that not everybody in the world has a swimming pool, for instance.
Growing up with the clubhouse, being the prince and princess of the clubhouse, it must have been a very interesting ride for them.
Yeah,
still is.
Yeah. It still is, and the homeschooling, their school was in the clubhouse. So, if, they could take a break and go for a swim, they can take a break, go to the beach. And still they complain sometimes, especially Ismail. But for him, I think it's the sitting down is an issue. But it's an amazing situation to be educated in. And again, back to that community thing, because they had Daisy as a teacher, so not only do they get their education, they get music support. They had teachers that had an arts background, so they get all these different influences, which is a really cool way, I think, to be educated. And I think it makes them completer human beings. I think having this experience as part of their, growing and stuff.
So if you would hit the reverse button and having the choice to decide whether to raise them in El Gouna on the Red Sea, or maybe back home in the Netherlands or anywhere else in the world, do you find yourself more likely than not
choose El Gouna
Yeah,
every time?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. We choose El Gouna. Yeah, it's just the freedom and ease of day-to-day life. You know, like if I just compare it to how I grew up, and it's not like I was not from a war zone or anything. You know, I'm from the Netherlands. It's pretty chill, but you know, battling the weather, going to school, having to cycle for like half hour, 45 minutes to even reach school, dodging traffic.
I mean, you could still do that here, but it'll probably be a much more enjoyable 30-minute cycle ride.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be a very different experience. Yeah, but now as well, they go to the Swiss school. It's now their second year in the school there, and like Samaya loves it. Like Ismail, again, it's just he just doesn't sit down very easy. So, they're doing well. They're picking up, and I think the good thing now with the Swiss school is that they also learn to work in social settings, because the homeschooling, of course, it was mainly them. Sometimes some other kids joined, and then their social interaction was after school.
Yeah.
But I think what you don't learn then is to work with other people in a group setting.
Yeah.
And that part they get now.
Kind of like a team mentality operating for the benefit of
Yeah.
the job more than
Yeah, I think there are definite benefits as well of learning to work with others in a class setting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Moving on, I kind of wanna look a little bit towards the future. You know, the future of El Gouna, the future of Sytze, Gouna Mountain Goats. Where do you see that going, and what would you actually like to see more of here in the town?
The future. It's of course it's hard to predict, because the town is developing. It's been developing since they put the first brick. Now it seems that there's more of a plan into the development, but I do think that Orascom is very good in playing into opportunities.
Yep.
It's like whenever something shit hits the fan in the country, Gouna is still doing their thing.
Yep.
So I am confident, that they'll find their way. Couple of things that worry me is the increase of, I would say, the decrease in freedom by the increase of security.
Okay.
That is something.
It's always got to be balanced out somehow.
A few instances that I think this is not the Gouna that I would like. Minor things, but it is something that I think, okay, that's something scary. To give an example, not to be too cryptic, like once I was sitting on the beach in the evening and not doing anything. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I wasn't making noise. And then security chased me away off the beach. It was the beach in front of the house of a friend, which is a beach not part of the house.
Okay.
And then their thing was, but maybe the people in the house don't like it. I know them, like they don't mind, but still I had to leave. And then, being 45 years old and being chased off a beach, it really hit something that hurt inside. But again, this is also the reality for a lot of people on our planet on a day-to-day basis. True. But that's not what I think Gouna should be about.
Well, do you think as the town grows, I guess the rules have to grow proportionally as well to sort of manage? I mean, back in those 2005 days, almost everyone was sort of on the same wavelength. But nowadays, you've got somebody that wants to wake up at 6 a.m. and work, and you've got somebody that wants to party till 3 a.m. And so it's kind of finding that balance, I think. Yeah.
And I think we're now in Gouna's puberty.
Yeah.
I think this is the adolescence phase that we're all figuring out, what's acceptable, what is for the greater good, and what is limiting my personal freedoms. And I think I think now it's also very important for the management and the residents to get together and have this conversation. And I think,
and luckily we've got mechanisms to where this conversation can be had, as opposed to many other places in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but it is growing, and I think it is. It is the purpose of the town as well. They didn't build it just for my personal enjoyment. It's not. But
yes, they did, and I think that's one of the beautiful things, because everyone feels that Gouna is theirs. Everyone sort of has this sense of ownership.
Yeah. But I think and that's why I think maybe this phase is very important when it comes to strategy, to keep that. To keep that unity, to have that pride in living here.
So what are the things you'd like to see? You mentioned it's sort of in its adolescent phase. What are the things you'd like to see in the grown-up phase?
Now I think also the positive sides of being in a growing town is that it has more opportunities. There's more opportunities for people to come and live here and survive and work. What I would like to see is now also that my kids are growing up, there are no areas like public community areas that are not commercial. So I think it would be great for, especially now those Gounies that were born here, that hitting that adolescent phase, to have a place where they can go and hang out.
Skate park's coming.
Skate
Biggest
park's
skate park
coming
in the
up.
Middle East.
Big hopes on that one. Shout out to Easy. Yeah, no, definitely. Places where they can hang out without being bothered or monitored or.
Kids being kids, teens got to be teens at some point.
Because now, they hang out in front of Gerges. Right? That's like a big thing. But that's not always nice for the people that live in that area either. So something like that. But for the rest, I think, the town has something for everyone. You have that freedom to choose. Like now, I moved to Kaffer now, and I notice I hardly leave the island. I love the community there, the people, my neighbors, the clubhouse, the Gerges. But when I was living,
probably one of the first business endeavors.
I think he was the first
took place.
one. Yeah,
as far as I remember, there was a gas station, there was Gerges, and that was it. That was Gouna.
I think there was somewhere a kiosk in front as well.
Yep.
In Gouna, I'm pretty sure he was the first. He kept the beginning, the pioneers alive, probably.
Would love to have him on the show at some point.
Yeah.
Sure,
try to make him smile.
Stories. Well, that's the challenge and a half.
He's an interesting dude as well.
And that's what lots of interesting people in this town, and that's what El Gounie is about. Just having chats with these interesting people passing through the Red Sea or living in the Red Sea.
Yeah.
So, Sytze.
Another thing, actually, speaking of that, passerbyers, because that's something, like in the early days, you had a lot of, more like travelers, backpackers passing through. And they were always like paradise birds, really interesting characters. And that's something I see less and less now that the prices have increased. It's more hotel, resort and that kind of stuff. So something like, hostel or something that would get the travelers, the backpackers, to balance it out, that would be really cool to see.
Well,
even a camping ground, which is coming as well.
Yes,
actually,
I've heard of that too.
Yeah.
So, it's growing, and I feel we're growing with it.
Yeah, definitely.
And on that note of growth, Mr. Sytze, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me,
podcast,
man.
And hope to have you again here on another episode.
I would be happy to.
And we always end it. Yep.
Thanks. How are we doing it then?
Yeah, sure. Why not? And cut.
Goonies.